This one's another commenter request, and it happens to be one of the first fitness apps I ever used. So, how does it hold up? If this is your first time watching one of my reviews, I always grade things based on what they are trying to do, and I always give my final score right at the beginning of the video. And the total score for Fitbod, I'm giving an 8 out of 10. It's cool to see one of the early players in this space that hit the ground well before the current AI boom, still continuing to thrive in the marketplace, even without being backed by or created by any influencer in particular that I'm aware of. It's also one of the most comprehensive fitness apps that I've encountered so far, in that it seems to really try to cover all the bases, from warm-ups, cool-down, stretching, cardio, superset circuits, and a variety of different goals and splits that you can plug into it. I will say I think it bites off a little bit more than I can chew. I'll get a little bit more into that in detail later in the review, but to summarize, it does offer an Olympic weightlifting and powerlifting option for setting your goals, but I do not recommend using this app if you actually are trying to improve at those sports. If you are participating in strength sports, you are going to want a more specialized program that is going to be periodized so that you are peaking and tapering in anticipation of the meet. If you are someone who is looking for more general fitness goals like strength, hypertrophy, and just general health and well-being, you could do a lot worse than this app. For effectiveness, I'm giving it 1.5 out of 2. The app has been around for years at this point, and its pedigree really shows in how robustly it has been built out at this point. And from an effectiveness point of view, it does get a lot of things right. The way it picks exercises within its algorithm seems to be built on whichever primary muscle group that exercise is associated with. For hypertrophy training, I would say that is exactly the right way to approach it. The problem is once you go into things like strength, especially specialized skills like Olympic lifting, just going by muscle group doesn't really cut it, but it's pretty clear that they would have to pretty thoroughly rewrite the algorithm for what I'm imagining is a pretty small niche of their users, so I don't see that changing anytime soon. Progression seems to be built in a couple of ways based on the workouts that I've done through it. The main way is adding either reps or load week to week. I saw that in action with my squats and rows, where in particular with the rows, it went from like 10 reps to actually saying do 11 reps the next time I did them in session. So that's pretty cool to see. It's more or less the way that I would want to approach progression in an algorithmic app like this. It also includes periodic max effort days for exercises that are coming up repeatedly in your program. Essentially, you are given 1 to 2 plus sets where you attempt to hit a rep PR that will drive up your estimated 1 rep max and thus increase the loads that are being prescribed on that lift going forward. It's a cool feature, and the fact that it is encouraging you periodically to push an exercise as hard as it can go to self-correct if you're going too easy, I think is good. The main flaw, as I indicated before, is that it is trying to do more than its algorithm is really built for. Starting with the powerlifting mode, it's not periodized. So yes, you're doing the power lifts. Yes, you are doing them in lower reps. But if you have a specific meet that you're preparing for, you're not going to have the option of having a plan that progresses in intensity leading up to a peak and taper that would prepare you for a meet. Could you use this for it anyway? Sure, you can just freewheel your way through this and just show up on meet day and do what you can do, but it's not ideal, and knowing that there are better options out there would mean that this would be a strange one for you to choose. And every time I tried to have my goal be Olympic lifting, it didn't present me with any of the Olympic lifts. And it does have them in there. And even on the ones where I said, okay, we're starting with doing an Olympic lift. I mean, what the hell am I looking at here? I think it is dishonest to claim that it is able to train you in Olympic lifting and powerlifting, given that the math doesn't work. And it won't work unless they very substantially rewrite the algorithm so that when you're using those modes, it is basing exercise selection on something besides muscle group. Because calling the clean a quad exercise, it's a little reductive. Also, what the hell are burpees doing here? Again, because the burpee is listed as a quad exercise, it just kind of shows up sometimes in workouts. It's not a strength exercise. It's not a muscle building exercise. It's cardio. It's something you do to get tired really fast, burn a whole lot of energy, and get your heart rate up. So it keeps popping up in workouts where it doesn't belong, and that is also a thing I remember from back in 2019 when I was using it. So it's pretty disappointing to see they haven't fixed such a basic problem. The possibility they genuinely think the burpee belongs in a strength workout or a hypertrophy workout is very concerning. Fortunately, it's not something that comes up very often. I would detract more points. In fact, I was really tempted to bring my score down from a 1.5 to a 1. But again, the majority of use cases it's not really going to be a problem, so I'll be nice. On usability, 1.5 out of 2. The UI was really good when I first started using it in 2019. I found it very engaging and very intuitive, and it's only really improved since then from what I can tell. It's quite impressive that with the amount of information that is being juggled on any page, and even back then when I knew a lot less about training, I felt I could really understand everything that I was looking at. There's also detailed instructions on everything, so you can always follow a help link to read more about why it is showing you what it's showing you and why it's choosing what it's choosing. I'm not an expert in this type of thing, so I can't really comment much more than that, but from my own subjective experience, I think they've done a really good job. Now, if you've seen my previous reviews, you know how I feel about supersets in programs and apps. They have to make sense in the gym. They have to be something you can actually do in a crowded gym. And 2 out of 3 times that I programmed supersets, it did a pretty good job with it. Things like dumbbell fly with skull crusher. Fantastic. Romanian deadlift and tricep push-up. Great. I'm not sure how it thinks I'm going to, in a commercial gym, superset a front squat with a bench press, but it's pretty easy to swap exercises, so, just be smart. Kudos to Fitbod for evading one of my pet peeves. The flaw for me in its usability, which also does impact its effectiveness, is that it's not clear what effort level you're meant to be pushing to on your resistance training. It doesn't give you an RIR target or an RPE target, so you just do the sets and reps as written. You can change them if you want to, but it's not clear what you're supposed to be doing. So like me, for example, I was underloaded on just about every exercise that it gave me, by a wide margin. On strength day, it gave me 125 pounds for 4 reps on deadlifts. I bumped up the load because I got bored. So if someone is coming into it stronger than its demographic profile would suggest, then you're just going to be going through the motions until it finally catches up to you. And you're only really prompted to log the difficulty of your last set, which is different than every other version of this that I've encountered, where the first time you engage with an exercise, you find your own loads. After all, I just reviewed MyoAdapt in my last video, and frankly, MyoAdapt worked a lot better on this front, specifically because on the first time I did an exercise, it just gave me a rep and reserve target to hit and trusted me to figure out how heavy to take it. After that, MyoAdapt would then assign loads based on that initial performance. While I get that Fitbod is mostly targeting beginners and as a result is trying to make as many decisions as possible for you, the user, there's simply no way it can reasonably predict the loads that every single user is going to be starting with based on just their demographic data. You have to assign some responsibility to the user to find the loads that are going to be stimulative for them. Otherwise, they're just showing up at the gym and going through motions. On flexibility, full points, 2 out of 2. There is literally nothing that you can't modify in Fitbod. You can change your exercise selection, you can change your program goals, you can change the loads, the reps, the number of sets that you're doing. You can change how long you want your workouts to be. You can set up workouts on demand as one-offs. You can set up your workouts to be bodyweight only. Simply put, this is the single most flexible training app I have ever seen. Now, I am a huge fan of promoting autonomy in trainees, not dependency on the coach, or in this case, the app. So the fact that it is actually sort of making you make decisions is fantastic. That's part of why I find it so weird that it insists on assigning loads for every exercise the first time that you do them. If you are using this, I strongly recommend that when it comes to the exercise variability, stick to more consistent or balanced especially if you're relatively new to the gym. And even if you are more experienced in the gym, you will most likely see the best results if you can consistently develop your skill at a smaller group of movements. I do know a lot of people get bored easily in the gym and they want more variety, and you do have the option of having the app serve you different exercises every time. But I just want to make sure that you understand the trade-offs involved if that's the way you want to go. If you aren't developing your skill at these movements as much, you're just not necessarily going to see the same results. And that's okay. It doesn't mean that your trip to the gym is useless. Again, it does link you to detailed articles related to this and the variety of other topics, so I highly recommend, if you have the time, to actually go through and read them before you start plugging in your decisions. Although again, you can just change your mind anytime you want about any of these things, so the stakes are low. The stakes are low. On enjoyability, 1.5 out of 2. The workouts were brisk and incorporated a pretty reasonable number of exercises with short rest times. My beloved push-pull split continues to evade me, and I don't know why, and I feel unfairly, personally discriminated against. But I'm actually very chuffed to see that there is an option that says fresh muscle groups for your split. Unfortunately, it only picks 2 plus trunk, so you kind of end up with horrors like this 10 exercise 32 set lower body day that it assigned for me. I didn't decide to try it. I didn't want to. Forgive me. Bear in mind that it is nowhere near as good at predicting workout times as MyoAdapt is. My sessions were generally shorter than expected, which I imagine for most people is going to be a welcome surprise. On value, once again, 1.5 out of 2. No app or program can be all things to all people. I wish that this one didn't try. So to be clear, who this app is for is the people that I often meet as a trainer who, when I ask their goal, they say, I just want to get in better shape. It's an understandable goal, just being more active, building a body that is healthier, stronger, in better condition, that moves better, that is in less pain. That is a worthwhile goal. And Fitbod knows that, and Fitbod is for those people. It is not for me. I can see the sheer number of variables overwhelming people. So just be advised that it's quite easy and quite simple to just make a few choices off the top, see what it gives you, try it, and then make adjustments if you want to later on. You don't have to use every single tool or toy that it puts in front of you. It's not a coach, and it's not pretending to be, but it does a lot of things well enough, in my opinion, to justify the price. With the standards of personal training at the moment, I would actually argue that this app at the moment could plausibly present you with better programming than a good number of online coaches out there. Now, normally at this point in the video is where I present you with a free alternative program that you can use if this one is too expensive for you, or if I think that there's something lacking in the program and I want to provide you with an alternative that fixes that problem. In this case, I'm just going to let you know 2 things. One, I've actually added a hybrid athletic program to my Athlean X review videos, so you can just follow the links below if you want to check those videos out and get access to the programs. Or if you want to just skip to getting access to the programs, I have now put all of my programs on my website for free, no strings attached. Follow the link in the doobly-doo if you want to check those out. If you have apps or programs that you would like me to review next, please put a comment below. In the meantime, get out there and go get friggin' strong.